Ethan Cole had never imagined that his life would become so strange. He was born on Earth, raised in a quiet city, and trained as a systems engineer for deep space stations. He was not a soldier. He was not rich. He was not famous. He was just a smart, honest man who liked simple things and hated drama. Yet somehow, on the edge of known human space, he found himself standing in a silver wedding hall, waiting to marry an alien woman. The station was called Orion Gate 9, a large trade station built between human space and the outer regions where strange species traveled. It was the kind of place where a person could hear 10 languages in one hallway and see creatures from worlds that most humans only read about in old files. That was where Ethan met Lyra. She had arrived 2 years earlier with almost no history. She spoke basic human language at first, then learned quickly. She worked with station diplomats, helped solve disputes, and always stayed calm, even when others grew angry. She was graceful, quiet, and hard to read. Her silver blue eyes always seemed to be watching more than they showed. There was something royal about her, though Ethan never used that word out loud. At first, he only respected her. Later, he trusted her. In time, against all reason, he fell in love with her. Many people on the station did not understand their relationship. Some were curious, some joked about it, some warned Ethan that no one really knew who Lyra was or where she came from. But Ethan had seen kindness in her. He had seen loneliness too. That mattered more to him than rumors. Their wedding was small, very small. A few human friends came. 2 station officials stood as legal witnesses. From Lyra's side, only 3 tall, silent beings watched from the back of the hall. Their faces were hidden behind pale masks, and they did not speak a single word during the full ceremony. Even that felt strange. But Ethan told himself it was only alien custom. The wedding itself was beautiful. Soft white lights moved across the high glass ceiling. Beyond the transparent walls, stars burned in the dark. Ships moved like tiny sparks outside the station. The music was low and gentle. Lyra wore a flowing white gown touched with silver patterns that seemed to shine when she moved. Ethan wore a formal dark suit, and for one perfect hour, everything felt peaceful. When they spoke their vows, Ethan looked into Lyra's eyes and believed that he knew her. That was his first mistake. Later, after the guests were gone and the station corridors had become quiet, Ethan and Lyra were led to a private chamber prepared for them near the outer ring of the station. It was not large, but it was elegant. The room had soft lights, warm floors, and a long window that looked into open space. A small table held food, wine, and gifts from friends. For a few minutes, Ethan felt normal again. He laughed softly as he loosened his collar. "Well," he said, "we survived it." Lyra did not answer. She had moved toward the window and stood there in silence, looking at the stars. Her back was straight. Her hands were calm at her sides, but there was tension in the room now, a quiet pressure that had not been there before. Ethan noticed it at once. He walked closer. "Lyra?" Still she did not answer. He gave a nervous smile. "You look like someone died." At that, she turned slowly. Her face was calm, but her eyes were different. The softness he had seen during the ceremony was gone. In its place was something older, colder, and far more serious. "Ethan," she said, "there is something I must tell you before this night goes any further." His smile faded a little. "That sounds dangerous." "In a way," she said. "It is." He tried to keep the mood light. "You're not secretly married already, are you?" She did not smile. That was when the room truly changed for him. Ethan felt a cold line move down his back. He had seen Lyra serious before, but never like this. This was not the expression of a worried wife. This was the expression of someone standing before a great moment, someone who had been waiting too long and could no longer delay the truth. "What is it?" he asked quietly. Lyra took one slow breath. "I did not come to this station by chance." "Okay. I did not meet you by chance either." Ethan frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means," she said, "that there are things about me you do not know." He stared at her. "Then tell me." She stepped closer. The silver lines in her dress seemed to glow in the dim room. "I am not only Lyra," she said. "That is the name I used here. It is not the full truth." Ethan's mouth felt dry now. "Then who are you?" For a moment, the only sound was the low hum of the station systems. Then Lyra said the words that changed everything. I am Queen Lyra Valon of the Bellari throne. Ethan blinked once, then twice. He almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was impossible. Queen, yes. He let out a short breath. Lyra, if this is some alien tradition joke, it's a bad time. It is not a joke. He shook his head. A queen of what? A lost colony? Some noble line? What are you saying? Before she could answer, the room lights flickered. Then they went red. A sharp alarm cried through the walls of the station. Ethan turned at once toward the window. At first he saw only stars. Then shapes began to move out of darkness. One warship, then another, then 10 more, then 10 more. Massive black vessels slid from the shadow beyond sensor range, silent and perfect in formation. Their hulls were curved like blades. Blue lights ran across their sides like frozen fire. They were too large, too advanced, and too close. In less than 20 seconds, the empty space outside Orion Gate 9 had become a wall of power. Ethan stepped back from the window. What are those? Lyra looked at the fleet without fear. My people, she said. The station alarm grew louder. A voice came over the emergency channel, ordering all personnel to security zones. In distant corridors, Ethan could hear running feet and shouted commands. He looked at his wife, and suddenly, he did not know her at all. You knew this would happen, he said. Yes. You planned this. I knew they would come when the signal was found. He stared at her in shock. Signal? What signal? She touched the small silver band, now resting on her finger. My marriage bond. It awakened an old line of authority. They have been searching for me for many years. Ethan's heart pounded. You used our wedding to call a fleet? Her face showed pain then. Real pain. No. I hoped they would not come so soon. The words did not help. A hard knock struck the chamber door. Then another, louder. Station security. A voice shouted, Open now. Ethan looked from the door to Lyra and back again. He wanted to ask 100 questions, but there was no time. Lyra stood still, calm in the red light, while warships filled the stars behind her. Then she spoke one more sentence, low and clear. They have not come for the station, Ethan. He swallowed. Then why are they here? Her eyes held his. They have come for their queen. And outside, the dark fleet moved one step closer. The security officers entered with weapons raised. There were 6 of them, all wearing station armor and carrying pulse rifles. Behind them stood Commander Hale, the chief of station security, a hard-faced man who trusted facts more than feelings. The moment he saw the warships outside and Lyra standing calmly in the red light, his expression turned colder. Nobody move, Hale said. Ethan raised his hands at once. Commander, wait. There has to be an explanation. Hale looked at him only for a second. I'm sure there is. His eyes returned to Lyra. Lady Lyra, or whatever your name really is, you will come with us. Lyra did not resist. I understand. Ethan stepped forward. No, she's not dangerous. Hale's voice sharpened. A hidden alien fleet just surrounded my station on your wedding night. This is far beyond dangerous. Outside the chamber, alarms continued to ring. Through the open door, Ethan could hear station messages repeating emergency orders. Docking bays were being sealed. Civilian traffic was stopped. Human defense ships were launching from the station's lower ring, though Ethan knew they would be no match for the black vessels outside. He looked at Lyra again. Tell them something. Tell them this is not an attack. Lyra answered with perfect calm. At this moment, it is not. Hale heard that too. At this moment? That depends on what happens next, she said. The commander signaled to his officers. 2 of them moved to Lyra's side. She allowed them to guide her out of the room, though Ethan could see from their faces that the officers were afraid to touch her too hard. He followed them through the corridor, despite Hale's order to stay back. No one stopped him. Everything was moving too fast. The hallway outside the wedding chamber had become a storm of motion. Crew members rushed toward command posts. Security teams sealed doors. Emergency lights painted the walls red. Through side windows, Ethan caught brief views of the alien fleet now spread in full formation around Orion Gate 9. There had to be more than 40 ships, not trade ships, not explorers, warships, and every one of them had come because of Lyra. They were taken to the central command room where station officials, military officers, and communication staff were gathered around live tactical screens. The room was full of voices, but when Lyra entered, most of them went silent. On the main screen floated a tactical image of the station surrounded by hostile contacts, unknown energy output, unknown shield systems, unknown weapon signatures, bad news in every direction. Station Director Miriam Soul stood at the center of the room. She was a middle-aged woman with sharp eyes and a steady voice. Ethan had always respected her, and now he was glad she was in charge. She turned toward Lyra. "You have exactly one chance to explain this." Lyra looked around the room, then spoke in the same calm tone she had used in the wedding chamber. "My name is Lyra Valen. I am the living heir of the Valari throne." A low wave of whispers spread through the room. The Valari. That name still existed in old human records, though only in broken pieces. A fallen empire from deep space. Advanced, powerful, secretive, long believed to be destroyed in internal war more than 60 years ago. Director Saul folded her arms. "The Valari are gone." "Most believe that," Lyra said. "It was useful." Hale stepped closer. "You expect us to believe that you are some hidden queen and that fleet belongs to you?" "It belongs to the throne," Lyra answered. "Whether it obeys me remains to be seen." That line made the room even quieter. Ethan felt his stomach tighten. "What does that mean?" Lyra looked at him briefly. Her voice softened, but only a little. "It means my people have found me, but I do not yet know what they want from me." Before anyone could respond, one of the communication officers shouted, "Incoming transmission. Source, flagship, unknown coding pattern. Wait, no, we're translating audio and visual now." The main screen flickered. A figure appeared. It was a tall alien male, with pale silver skin and dark armor marked with glowing lines. He looked almost human in shape, but not in presence. His eyes were cold and hard, and his expression carried the weight of command. Behind him stood armed officers in black ceremonial armor. The alien bowed his head slightly when he saw Lyra. "Your Majesty," he said. No one in the room breathed for a moment, so it was true. Lyra took one step forward. "Identify yourself." "I am High Marshal Sarek Thule, First Blade at the Valari Loyal Fleet." "Loyal?" Lyra asked. "Then why arrive in war formation?" The Marshal answered without shame. "Because the galaxy is unstable, and weakness invites attack. We came prepared." Director Sol leaned toward her staff. "Record everything." Lyra kept her eyes on the screen. "State your purpose, Marshal." "To return you to the throne," he said. "The Dominion has waited long enough." His voice grew stronger. "The old enemies are rising. Human power expands. Border worlds break apart. The Valari need their queen." A few human officers reacted angrily at that mention of human expansion, but Saul silenced them with a hand. Lyra remained still. "And if I refuse?" The Marshal paused. Then he said, "You will not refuse." A dangerous silence filled the room. Ethan moved closer to the front. "She has a life here." Marshal Sarek's cold eyes shifted toward the human man for the first time. He studied Ethan as if looking at a strange tool. "This is the husband?" he asked. Lyra's jaw tightened. "He is my lawful bond." The Marshal's face changed slightly. Not respect, not approval, something closer to concern. "This action was unwise," he said. "It was my choice," Lyra replied. "Your Majesty," said Sarek, "the bloodline must be protected." At that, Ethan understood something ugly. To them, he was not a husband. He was not a husband. He was a mistake. Director Saul stepped forward. "This station is under human protection. No one will be taken against their will." Marshal Sarek did not even look at her. "Your protections are irrelevant." Several human officers raised weapons toward the screen out of anger, which helped no one. Lyra's voice cut through the room. "Enough." Everyone stopped. She looked at the Marshal with new steel in her face. "You have found me. You have spoken. Now hear me clearly. I will not be ordered." A shadow moved behind Sarek's eyes, but he bowed his head again. "As you command, Your Majesty." The transmission ended. The room exploded with voices. "What now? Can they breach shields? Can we evacuate civilians? Should we call the Earth defense line?" Ethan barely heard any of it. He kept staring at Lyra. She stood tall, controlled, and distant, like the woman in the wedding hall had vanished forever. He walked to her side. "Why didn't you tell me?" For the first time since the fleet arrived, she looked uncertain. "Because if I told you the truth, she said softly. You may never have trusted me. He answered honestly. I still don't know if I do. Pain crossed her face. Before either of them could say more, another officer shouted from the sensor station. Commander, multiple fighter-class vessels launching from the alien flagship. Hale snapped around. Attack pattern. Not yet, sir. They're taking positions around the station. Director Saul cursed under her breath. They're preparing pressure. Lyra turned toward the tactical display, her eyes narrowing. No, she said. That is not pressure. What is it? Ethan asked. Her voice was low now. That is a faction move. Meaning? She looked at the dark ships forming up around Orion Gate 9. It means not everyone in that fleet agrees with waiting. And as the first ring of black fighters locked into position around the station, Ethan understood the truth. The night was only getting worse. The command room felt smaller now. Outside the station, the alien fighters held their positions like hunting birds around a trapped animal. Human defense crews rushed to battle stations, and every sensor screen showed the same terrible fact. The Volari fleet could destroy Orion Gate 9 in minutes if it wished. Director Sol ordered all civilian decks sealed and all non-essential systems placed in emergency mode. Commander Hale directed security teams to protect engineering, life support, and the station core. Even the trade guild representatives, who usually cared only about money, looked pale and silent. In the middle of that storm stood Lyra. Ethan watched her carefully. She did not panic. She did not raise her voice. She simply looked at the tactical screens with the face of someone who had seen worse and survived. That made Ethan even more uneasy. He stepped beside her. You said they might not obey you. Yes. Then who are they following? Lyra did not answer right away. At last she said, power. That word hung in the air between them. Director Sol turned from her officers. I need more than mysteries, Lyra. If there is a civil split in that fleet, say it clearly. Lyra nodded once. There is. The room quieted again. The Volari Dominion fell many years ago, she said. Not because outside enemies destroyed it, but because our own leaders chose fear over reason. Noble houses fought for control. Fleets turned on each other. Worlds burned. In the end, the throne itself became a target. She spoke like someone remembering fire. I was young when the last war began. My mother, the ruling queen, was killed during the final assault on the inner capital. Loyalists smuggled me away before the palace fell. Ethan listened in silence. He had never heard so much emotion in her voice before. It was not loud emotion. It was buried emotion, old and sharp. For years, Lyra continued, those loyal to the bloodline hid me. They scattered across dead routes, abandoned stations, dark colonies. Some wanted only to protect me. Others wanted to save the Dominion. Others, she stopped. Others wanted to use you, Director Saul said. Lyra met her eyes. Yes. Hale crossed his arms. And which group is out there now? Likely all of them, Lyra said. But High Marshal Sarek serves the Restoration faction. Restoration? Ethan asked. It sounds peaceful, Saul said, which means it probably is not. Lyra gave the smallest nod. They believe the Dominion can return only through strength, fear, and conquest. They want the old empire back. Hale cursed. And they need a royal symbol to unite their forces. They need more than a symbol, Lyra said. They need legal command authority. In Volari law, a fleet can claim total war powers only under a crowned ruler or confirmed heir. Ethan understood. So if they get you, they can use your name to start a war. Yes. A cold silence followed that answer. For the first time since the wedding, Ethan felt anger pushing past the shock. Then why were you here? Why stay on a station with humans? Why marry me if you knew this could happen? Lyra turned toward him. The room was full of officers, screens, and alarms, but suddenly Ethan noticed only her face. Because I was tired, she said quietly. No one spoke. Tired of hiding. Tired of being hunted by my own people. Tired of living as a weapon someone else wanted to use. When I came to Orion Gate 9, I meant only to disappear. But here, she looked around the room at the humans who feared her now. Here I saw ordinary lives, work, friendship, choice. I saw people disagree without slaughter. I saw weakness and kindness living together. Her eyes returned to Ethan, and then I met him. Ethan's anger weakened, but the hurt remained. Lyra continued, I did not plan to love anyone. I did not plan to stay. But I wanted a life that belonged to me. The words were honest. Ethan could hear that much. Yet honesty did not erase the danger now surrounding them. Before anyone could speak, the main screen flashed again. Another transmission. Director Saul signaled the comm officer to open it. Marshal Sarek reappeared, but this time he was not alone. Two other Volari officers stood beside him, and behind them, Ethan could see movement across the bridge of the flagship. "Your Majesty," Sarek said. "A second request. Please board the flagship peacefully. Delay increases risk." Lyra stepped forward. "Withdraw your fighters first." "That is not possible." "Then you ask while pointing weapons at a civilian station." Sarek's expression did not change. "We are securing the field." Director Saul spoke sharply. "You are threatening my people." "Your people are alive," the marshal replied. "You should value that." Hale muttered something dark under his breath. Lyra lifted her chin. "Hear me clearly, Sarek. I have not accepted your authority, and I have not returned to the throne. You will not approach this station further." For the first time, the marshal's calm cracked. "Majesty," he said, "the moment has passed beyond personal desire. The Dominion needs order." "No," Lyra answered. "You need a crown." Sarek did not deny it. Instead, he said, "If you remain among humans, you will be shaped by them. The bloodline cannot afford contamination of judgment." Ethan took a step toward the screen. "Say that again." Lyra raised one hand slightly, warning him back, but the marshal had already seen enough. "You are the husband," Sarek said. "Then understand this, human. What she is cannot belong here." Ethan's voice stayed low, but it was full of steel. "She is not property." That line changed the room. A few human officers looked at Ethan with new respect. The marshal's eyes turned cold. "No, she is duty." Lyra stepped between Ethan and the screen, though only symbolically. "I am neither," she said. "I am queen by birth, yes, but I will choose my own command." A strange sound came through the transmission then, like an alarm from the flagship itself. Sarek turned slightly, listening to someone off-screen. When he looked back, his expression had darkened. "There is movement within the fleet," he said. Lyra understood before anyone else. "Which faction?" He did not answer quickly enough. A new voice cut into the comm line, rougher, harder, female. "Factions are over, Sarek." The screen shifted. Another Volari officer appeared, wearing crimson-marked armor. A scar crossed one side of her face, and her eyes burned with open contempt. "I am Admiral Cora Venn," she said, "and this waiting is finished." Lyra's face hardened. "Cora." The Admiral smiled without warmth. "Majesty, or should I say, pretender." Sarek snapped. "You were not granted channel authority. You lost the right to caution," Cora replied. "The Queen has bound herself to a human and weakened the line. She will either return under command or the throne passes by necessity." Shock passed through the command room. Director Saul looked to her officers. "She's talking coup." "Yes," Lyra said. "She is." Cora leaned closer to the screen. "This station has served its purpose. Stand down and surrender the Queen. Refuse, and we cut our way in." Hale barked to his teams. "Raise combat shields now." Red warning icons flashed across the station displays. Sarek tried to regain control. "Admiral, hold your position. No one attacks without." Cora cut him off. Too late. The transmission ended. At once, the tactical display changed. 8 fighter wings broke formation and moved toward the station's outer ring. Behind them, 2 larger strike cruisers shifted weapons into firing lines. The first shots had not yet come, but everyone in the room knew they were seconds away. Ethan looked at Lyra. "Can you stop them?" Her face was pale but hard. "Not with words alone," she said. For one terrible moment, Ethan saw the full truth of her life. Hunted heir, hidden ruler, living key to a broken empire. The woman he married had never truly been free. Outside the station, enemy guns began to glow, and on his wedding night, Ethan understood that love alone would not save them. The first blast hit the outer defense shield with enough force to shake the command room floor. Several officers stumbled. Warning sirens changed tone. Across the tactical display, bright red rings spread over the station image as shield strain numbers jumped fast. "They've opened fire!" shouted the sensor officer. Commander Hale was already barking orders into 3 channels at once. "Return fire from platforms 2 and 4. Get civilian decks into hard lockdown. Engineering, I want shield routing now." Engineering, I want shield routing now. Director Saul stood at the center like a stone in a storm. No uncontrolled retaliation. Keep our shots defensive unless they attempt breach. Outside the main window of the command deck, space came alive with movement. Human defense turrets fired blue streaks into the dark, while Valari fighters darted in sharp lines, too fast for ordinary tracking. One fighter exploded under station fire, but three more rushed past the burst and hammered the shield again. Ethan gripped the side of a console to keep his balance. This was madness. An hour ago, he had been smiling in a wedding hall. Now, warships were attacking the station, and his wife was the center of the whole disaster. He looked at Lyra. She was not frozen. She was studying the battle, her eyes moving quickly from screen to screen. What are they trying to do? Ethan asked. Pressure the shield at the outer ring, she answered at once. Not to destroy the station, to force emergency docking control failure. Director Saul heard that, meaning, if they disable local control, Lyra said, they can board through maintenance ports and take command sectors directly. Hale gave her a hard look. You seem to know their methods very well. I was raised among them, she said. Another blast shook the station. A damage report came in from the lower trade arm. Civilian compartments were sealed in time, but one cargo lane had lost pressure. Medical teams were already moving. Ethan felt sick. People were getting hurt. Because of this. Because of her. Because of him too, maybe. Marshal Sarek's face appeared again on a side screen, this time not by invitation. Your Majesty, he said urgently, Admiral Cora acts without authority. Board my flagship now, and I may still contain this. Lyra's voice turned sharp. Contain? You brought her here. She commands a third of the fleet, Sarek said. Without a united throne, I cannot fully bind her. That is your failure. And soon it becomes yours, he snapped. Director Saul cut the channel. No more games, she said. We defend the station. Lyra turned to her. If you keep fighting blind, you will lose more people. Saul stared at her. Then help us. For a brief moment, Lyra did not move. Ethan understood why. The moment she gave battlefield orders, she would stop being only a hunted woman and become a queen again. Maybe she had been running from that for years. He stepped closer to her and spoke quietly. People will die if you stay silent. Her eyes met his. There was fear in them now, not fear of battle, but fear of herself. Then she made her choice. Open me a tactical channel, she said. The command room obeyed at once. A new display formed in front of her, showing station weapon arcs, enemy approach lines, and shield load patterns. Her hands moved over the interface with surprising speed. She did not look like a refugee anymore. She looked like someone trained from childhood to command fleets. Commander Hale, she said, your point defense is wasting fire on decoy wing. Target only the lead spear groups. They carry breach charges. Hale hesitated 1 second too long. Do it, Director Saul ordered. He did. At once, 2 human defense platforms shifted aim. Their fire cut across the incoming fighter lines and struck the lead Valari craft just as Lyra predicted. 3 of them burst apart in bright blue flame. The rest broke formation. A murmur ran through the room. Lyra pointed to another screen. Their strike cruisers are not attacking your core. They are masking a boarding approach from below the station plane. Rotate shields 12 degrees downward. Engineering answered that such a shift would leave the upper array weaker. Do it anyway, Lyra said. They won't waste heavy fire above. Cora wants a fast capture, not debris. Again, she was right. Within moments, hidden contacts appeared below the station where sensors had missed them in the battle clutter. Boarding craft. Many of them. Hale cursed. How did she know that? Ethan almost answered because she was born to this world. But the words stayed in his throat. The battle changed shape. Human gunners began following Lyra's directions. Station losses slowed. 2 more Valari fighter wings were broken before they reached the shield. 1 strike cruiser took heavy fire from a defense platform it had thought disabled and was forced to pull back. For the first time since the attack began, Orion Gate 9 was not losing ground every second. But Coravan adapted fast. A new warning flashed across the command display. Enemy power surge, called the sensor officer. Cruiser-class weapons charging. Lyra's face went still. She's tired of subtlety. A second later, both strike cruisers fired together. Twin beams of white-blue energy slammed into the outer shield ring. The station screamed. Console sparked. Lights died and returned. Ethan was thrown against the side rail and several officers hit the floor. Shield collapsed at 62%. Someone shouted. No, Lyra said. That was not for the shield. The lower deck map blinked red. Impact on docking spine 7. Hale looked stunned. She just cut our civilian evacuation lane. Director Sol's hands closed into fists. She wants panic. Lyra's voice became ice. She wants leverage. A private signal flashed on the tactical board, direct narrow beam from Cora's cruiser. Sol almost refused it, but Lyra said, take it. The Admiral appeared. Smoke drifted behind her now. Her bridge was active, alive with battle commands. She looked pleased. Majesty, Cora said, you see what delay costs. Lyra answered with open hatred. You attack your own queen. I attack weakness wearing a crown, Cora said. Surrender yourself, and I spare the station. No. Cora's eyes shifted toward Ethan. Then, I remove the distraction first. Ethan understood that she meant him. Before anyone could react, the transmission ended, and 3 fast attack signatures broke away from the main battle and drove straight toward the command deck sector. Hale shouted, intercept. Human turrets fired, but the enemy craft were too fast. 1 exploded. 2 got through. They slammed shaped charges into the outer hull near the command level and pulled away. A terrible impact thundered through the station. The deck buckled. Air hissed from somewhere behind the wall. Emergency bulkheads crashed down through the corridor beyond command. Boarding breach near this level. Security cried. Hale drew his sidearm. Teams with me. The war had reached them. Ethan's heart pounded so hard it hurt. He was no soldier, but he grabbed a fallen pulse pistol from his security rack as officers rushed past him. Lyra looked at him. Stay behind cover. He gave a bitter breath. That part of the wedding guide was missing. Even now, to his surprise, one corner of her mouth almost moved. Then gunfire erupted in the outer hall. Valari boarders had entered Orion Gate 9. The outer hall became a battlefield within seconds. Pulse fire flashed through the half-open blast doors. Station security teams took positions behind overturned console banks and wall braces. The first Valeri boarders moved fast and low, wearing dark armor fitted close to the body. They used narrow energy rifles and blade tools that cut through metal like light through paper. Ethan stayed behind a support frame near the rear of the command room, pulse pistol shaking in his hand. He had basic station emergency training, nothing more. Every instinct told him to stay down and survive. But every time he looked up, he saw Lyra. She was not hiding. She moved from station to station across the command deck, directing security lines, rerouting internal doors, ordering pressure seals, and tracking enemy positions with sharp, fearless focus. She looked like the center of a storm. People listened to her because, at this point, they had no better choice. Seal Corridor Branch C, she ordered. Force them into the narrow lane. Hale shouted the same command to his teams. The boarders pushed toward the command room entrance, but Lyra's trap worked. 2 internal bulkheads closed at angles that limited the attackers to a tighter passage. Human defenders concentrated fire there, dropping 3 Valari soldiers almost at once. Still, more came. 1 security officer fell near the doorway, hit in the shoulder and neck. Another was dragged to cover by a medic. Sparks rained from the ceiling where enemy shots tore into support lines. Ethan saw 1 boarder break through the smoke and rush the side entrance with a glowing blade. He did not think. He fired. The pulse shot hit the attacker in the chest. The armor flared, failed, and the boarder crashed into the wall. Ethan stared at what he had done. His breath stopped for a second. Then Hale yelled, "Good shot, keep firing." The moment passed. The fight continued. Lyra moved to Ethan's side for the briefest second. "You should be afraid," she said. "I am. Good. It keeps humans alive." Then she was gone again. Another message forced itself onto the command screen. Admiral Cora once more. This time her face was colder than before. "You defend them well, Majesty," she said. "Perhaps too well." Lyra did not answer. Cora continued, "Your boarders are near command. When they reach you, I will offer one last mercy. Come willingly, and the human station survives." Ethan stepped closer to the screen before anyone could stop him. "And if she says no?" Cora looked at him like one might look at dust. "Then you die first." Director Sol cut the channel, but the message had already done its work. Some officers in the room glanced at Ethan with worry. They knew now that he was not just part of the problem. He was a target. Lyra turned to him. Cora believes pain creates obedience. Ethan gave a tense, humorless smile. A lot of people believe that. They're usually wrong. The line made her pause. Maybe that was one of the reasons she had stayed among humans. Not because they were stronger in battle. Not because they were wiser in politics. But because some of them still believed that choice mattered more than fear. A fresh burst of fire struck the command room doors. The lock frame bent. "They'll breach in under 2 minutes," Hale shouted. Director Saul looked around fast. Options? No one answered with anything good. Station shields were weakening. Civilian sections were damaged. Internal security could hold only so long. Even if they survived the borders, the fleet outside still had them trapped. Then Ethan saw something on one of the tactical screens. Several Volari ships were no longer firing. "Lyra," he said, pointing. "Look." She turned. On the outer fleet display, 5 destroyers and a support carrier had moved out of Cora's attack pattern and were holding neutral formation. They had not left, but they had stopped advancing. Lyra's expression changed. "Sarek still has support." Director Saul caught on quickly. "A split in the fleet. Not enough yet," Lyra said, "but maybe enough to send a message." Hale, still firing between words, barked, "Send it fast." Lyra moved to the main comm station. "Open all ship broadcast. Dominion codes, throne-level access." The human comm officer hesitated only a moment, then handed control to her. Lyra stood straight, battle light flashing across her face. When she spoke, her voice changed. It grew deeper, older, full of command. "This is Lyra Valon, living heir of the Volari throne. Hear me." Her words went across every ship around Orion Gate 9. "I did not return to lead conquest. I did not survive the fall to repeat it. Those who claim the Dominion must rise through fear speak with dead minds. I reject them." Gunfire still cracked in the hall, but people in the command room listened like the room itself had frozen. Lyra continued, "I stand now among humans, not because I was captured, not because I was broken, but because I chose another path. Any captain who still remembers the cost of the old war will stand down now." The tactical board updated. 2 more ships dropped attack lock, then another. Cora's assault line wavered. The admiral forced a channel open, fury blazing in her eyes. "You shame the bloodline," Lyra answered with absolute calm. "No, I save what remains of it." But Cora was too far gone. "All assault groups," the admiral ordered to her forces, "take the station now." The final breach charge hit the command doors. Metal split. 3 Volari boarders rushed in. Security teams fired. 1 fell. Another returned fire and dropped a human defender. The third pushed through the smoke straight toward Lyra with a shock blade raised. Ethan moved before he could think. He crossed the space between them and slammed into the attacker from the side. They hit the deck hard. The blade burned through the floor beside Ethan's face. He grabbed the attacker's wrist with both hands, struggling against strength greater than his own. The Volari soldier snarled behind a mask and tried to force the weapon back up. Ethan could feel himself losing. Then the attacker froze. A thin silver knife had entered through a gap in the armor at the neck. Lyra pulled the blade free, and the boarder collapsed. For one long second, Ethan was on the floor, breathing hard, staring up at her. She looked down at him, and beneath all the command, all the history, all the fear, he saw the woman he had married. "You fool," she whispered. He let out a shaky breath. "That sounded warmer in my head." A small laugh escaped her, real and brief. Then it was gone. On the tactical board, more Volari ships were breaking from Cora's attack command. Marshal Sarek's loyalists had begun blocking her cruisers' firing lanes. The fleet was no longer united. Director Saul saw the chats. "All human batteries, focus on Cora's spear group only. Support any neutral Volari ship not firing on us." Hale added, "Security squads, drive the borders back. We hold now." The battle turned. Not fully, not cleanly, but enough. And at the center of that change was not only a queen. It was a queen who had chosen peace, and a human man who had chosen to stand beside her when fear would have been easier. That choice began to spread through the station like fire. The fighting lasted another 23 minutes. To Ethan, it felt much longer. Inside Orion Gate 9, security teams slowly pushed the remaining Volari boarders back through the damaged corridors. Some attackers surrendered when they realized the fleet outside was no longer fully supporting the assault. Others fought until they were disarmed or stunned. Medics moved through smoke and broken glass, carrying both humans and aliens to emergency care. Outside the station, the battle changed shape once again. Admiral Korra's forces had expected a quick capture. Instead, they now faced divided command, human resistance, and a direct throne-level challenge from Lyra herself. Several Bellari ships under Marshal Sarek moved to block Korra's cruiser from making another heavy strike on the station. Two destroyers exchanged fire at close range. One of Korra's attack carriers lost engine power and drifted away, burning. Still, Korra did not retreat. "She'll make one final move," Lyra said as she studied the battle. Her gown was torn now, stained with smoke and blood from the command deck fight. But she still stood straight. "People like her always do." Director Saul nodded. "Then we finish this before she chooses something worse." Hale received fresh reports from engineering and grimaced. "Station shields are at 28%. One more cruiser blast and we start losing major sections." Marshal Sarek opened a secure channel at last. This time, his face looked different. Hard, yes, but not proud. "Your Majesty," he said, "I was wrong to believe caution could control Korra. She has ordered direct reactor lock on the station core." Director Saul swore openly. "Can she fire through her own ships?" "Yes," Sarek answered. "She no longer cares." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "Then stop her." "My ships are engaging, but her flagship still has line of sight for 17 seconds. The room fell silent. 17 seconds was nothing. Hale checked his display. No human platform can reach her bridge fast enough. Director Saul turned to Lyra. "What do you need?" Lyra looked at the tactical map only once. Then she pointed to a damaged maintenance array floating off the station's lower ring, half dead and ignored by both sides. "That relay mast still has a gravitic anchor," she said. "Can you overload it remotely?" One engineer blinked. "Maybe." "Why?" "Because if it collapses at maximum pulse," Lyra said, "it will bend local space for 2 seconds." Hale understood first. "Enough to throw off a firing line." "Enough," Lyra said. "If done now." The engineer looked terrified. "It could also hit our own ring." "Can you do it?" Director Saul asked. The engineer swallowed. "Yes." "Then do it." Everyone counted in their own heads as the damaged relay mast began to glow on the screen. Korra's flagship turned, reactor beam charging bright at its core. 5 seconds. 4, 3. The relay exploded. For one impossible instant, space itself twisted around the lower station arc. Korra's firing line bent just enough. The cruiser beam ripped past Orion Gate 9, cutting through empty darkness and striking one of Korra's own escort ships instead. The ship vanished in white fire. At once, Sarek's loyal destroyers struck the flagship from both sides. Human defense guns joined the volley. Kara's shields broke under the combined attack. "Flagship propulsion failing," the sensor officer shouted. "Secondary weapons offline. Enemy assault pattern collapsing." A cheer almost rose in the command room, but Lyra lifted one hand. "Open a channel to Korra," she said. The channel came alive through static and smoke. Admiral Korra stood on a burning bridge. Sparks rained behind her. Officers shouted in panic. Yet even now, her face held rage more than fear. "You have lost," Lyra told her. Korra laughed once, bitter and wild. "Then finish it. Be what your mother was too weak to become." Lyra's expression did not change. "No." Korra stared at her. Lyra spoke so all ships could hear. "Admiral Korra Venn, by the authority of the Valari throne, I remove you from command. Stand down, your surviving forces. Medical aid will be granted. Trial will follow." Korra's mouth twisted. "Mercy is why empires die." "No," Lyra said. "Fear is." For a moment, Ethan thought Korra would order one final suicide strike. Instead, something unexpected happened. A young officer behind the admiral stepped forward and deactivated her command panel manually. 2 others took her weapon. Korra spun in shock, but the officer spoke before she could resist. "We are done burning for ghosts, Admiral." The channel cut. Silence followed. Then, one by one, the remaining hostile Valari ships powered down their weapons. The battle was over. No one in the command room moved for several seconds. People looked at screens as if afraid the peace might vanish if they blinked. Then the room exhaled. Some officers sat down where they stood. One medic began to cry quietly from exhaustion. Hale holstered his sidearm and muttered that he needed a very long drink. Director Sol simply closed her eyes for 1 second before opening them again. Ethan looked at Lyra. For the first time all night, she seemed tired. Not weak, not broken, just tired in a deep and human way. The weight of bloodline, duty, history, and battle was finally visible on her face. He walked to her slowly. The command room gave them space without being asked. "You saved him," Ethan said softly. Lyra looked past him at the station. The fleet, the stars. "We saved them," she answered. He almost smiled. "You did most of the saving." She turned fully toward him then. "No, listen to me." Her voice was quiet, but every word mattered. "I had power before tonight. I had bloodline before tonight. I had bloodline before tonight. None of that was enough. They would have turned me into a symbol, or a weapon, or a prisoner wearing a crown." Her eyes held his. "But you stood beside me when it would have been easier to run. Your people defended me when they had every reason to fear me. That changed the choice before the fleet." Ethan did not know what to say, so he said the simplest thing. "You're still my wife, right?" For the first time since the wedding hall, Lyra smiled fully, a small smile, a real one. "Yes," she said, "if you still want that." Ethan looked around at the ruined command room, the sparks, the medics, the half-broken screens, and the warships floating outside. "This is not how I imagined the wedding night," he said. "No," she agreed. "Very poor planning on my part. Mostly." A few people nearby laughed softly, and the terrible pressure in the room eased. Later, after the wounded were moved and emergency repairs began, Lyra addressed the full Volari fleet and the station together. She did not declare a reborn empire. She did not promise conquest. She did something far more difficult. She promised change. The Volari would not rise through fear again. Their survivors would seek lawful alliance, not domination. They would answer for crimes committed that night. They would rebuild, if they rebuilt at all, beside others and not above them. Some captains accepted at once. Some stayed silent. A few would likely resist later. But the old path had been broken. As the first light of a nearby star moved across the damaged hull of Orion Gate 9, Ethan and Lyra finally stood alone by the long window of the chamber where the night had begun. The room was damaged, but still standing. The table had fallen over. The lights were dim. Beyond the glass, Volari and human ships now floated side by side in uneasy peace. Ethan looked at her reflection in the window. "So," he said, "Queen Lyra Valon." She gave him a sideways glance. "You may still call me Lyra." "That's good. Your Majesty feels too formal." She looked back at the stars. "I never wanted the throne. Maybe that's why you should have it." She was quiet for a moment. Then she rested her hand lightly over his. "Maybe," she said, "it should become something new." Ethan nodded. "That sounds more like us." The stars outside burned bright and cold, but the night no longer felt empty. On their wedding night, his alien wife had declared herself a queen. By morning, she had become something greater, not ruler of a dead empire, but the first leader of a new future.